This video is brought to you by Jewel of the Indigo Isles, written by Paizo veterans Patrick Rennie, Ron Lundeen, and Linda Zayas Palmer. Jewel of the Indigo Isles includes 7 new playable ancestries and enough adventure to take players from 1st to 11th level. Order now at battlezoo.com. Hey everybody, Dave here with another Pathfinder rule reminder for you, and today's topic is what exactly is an instance or pool of damage. So those of you who have been watching the channel for the last week or two know that I've been going through a little brief mini-series in these rule reminders that take a look at resistances and weaknesses and damage and how we go about calculating some of the more complex issues that arise with getting the final damage of an attack. It's not as simple as just a dagger hitting a goblin doing 3 points of damage. That's probably satisfactory for 90%, if not more, than the cases out there. But there are fringe cases where you get into, well, what if it's a weapon that has 2 different types of property runes that each do their own different types of damage, and you're raging, and you've got a feat that does this, and so on and so forth. And the way we handle these calculations is we take the damage that is applied by that strike and we divide it into distinct pools, where each pool of damage is affected by resistances and weaknesses independent of all of the other pools of damage, and then at the end we total up whatever is left over, and that's the final amount of damage that's applied. And I've received a number of different questions and asking for more examples in more kind of unique or unusual cases. And I think pretty much most, if not all of these suggestions can be boiled down to just simply, if you understand dividing the damage up into pools, then you can pretty much understand how they interact with a number of these other friend situations. Now, that's all great in theory, but the problem is that the rulebook doesn't really explain, what an instance of damage is, or a pool of damage. It doesn't really explain in black and white when you divide it one way and what goes into one pool and what goes into another. So, I've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of Google research, a lot of Reddit research, and a lot of official forum research, and asked folks for their opinions to make sure I'm getting this right, as well as just reading the book and seeing what examples are there. And so, bottom line, what I want to share with you is my take and what I apply, and the guidelines that I use when determining how to pull out damage. And I believe it is both simple and it is 99% within the rules as intended, even if maybe there could be some fringe cases where a certain feat interacts in a weird way. But I think this is going to work for most people and be easy. And simply put, that is, every type of damage gets put into its own pool regardless of what the source of that type of damage was. So let me do a couple of examples here to illustrate that for you. So in our first example, we're going to say we have a +1 serrating longsword, and so that serrating rune adds 1d4 slashing damage. So on a hit, this sword does 1d8 slashing damage plus 1d4 slashing damage, and we're striking an enemy that has resistance to slashing of 5. So the first question is, how many pools of damage do we have here? Some people would say we have 1 pool of damage because they are both slashing damage. Other people would say, well, we have 2 pools of damage because there are 2 effects in place. There is the sword that's striking, and then there is a rune on the sword, and we're rolling 2 different dice, so therefore there would be 2 different pools of damage. Well, using my guideline of saying that all of the types of damage go in their own pool would say that this is only 1 pool of damage, therefore you would roll 1d8 slashing plus 1d4 slashing, total that up, and then you would subtract 5 resistance to slashing from that total, not subtracting 5 from 1d8 and subtracting 5 again from 1d4. Now, in our second example, we have a red Dragon Instinct Barbarian, and they are wielding a battle axe that has a flaming rune. So as a red Dragon Instinct Barbarian, when they rage, they get to add damage to their melee attacks that are the fire type. So this Barbarian who is raging is wielding a +1 Flaming Battle Axe. That's going to do 1d8 slashing damage, plus 2 points of fire damage because of their Dragon Instinct Rage, and they're going to do an additional 1d6 fire damage from the Flaming Rune. So again, the question is, how many different pools of damage do we have here? Some people would say it's one pool of damage because this is all one action and one attack. Some people would say that there are 3 pools of damage here because we have 3 different effects. We have the axe, and then we have the rage, and then we have the Flaming Rune. Again, the methodology that I use is that all types of damage get put into their own pools, regardless of the source. Therefore, we have 2 pools of damage here. Pool 1 is 1d8 slashing damage, and pool 2 is 1d6 fire damage from the rune, plus 2 more fire damage from rage. So all the slashing damage goes into one pool, all the fire damage goes into a second pool. And therefore, the weakness to fire is only being triggered once. It's going to be 1d6 plus 2 in pool 2, plus 5 from the weakness to fire. The fire damage from rage is not going to trigger plus 5 for the fire weakness, and then the fire rune trigger another plus 5 for fire damage. It's only going to be triggered once. And for my last example here, this gets into what's kind of one of those weird exceptions to my methodology of using types of damage as their own distinct pools, because this one we're dealing with kind of a quasi pool, and that's going to be precision damage. So let's take a look at how this works. We're going to say we attack and we have a dagger, and so daggers do 1d4 piercing damage, and this person's going to sneak attack, and that sneak attack is going to add 1d6 precision damage. Now the thing about precision damage is it's not really treated as its own type of damage. Instead, precision damage increases the base damage type. So if you do precision damage with a piercing weapon, that precision damage becomes piercing damage. So in the case of sneak attacking with a dagger, it's going to be 1d4 piercing for the dagger, plus 1d6 piercing because of precision. But we don't want to roll both of those dice and add them together quite yet. You want to roll those 2 dice separately, as if they were 2 pools, even though we're going to treat these as 1 damage type and 1 pool. And the reason is because if you attack somebody with this dagger, and that enemy has resistance to precision damage 2, then you gotta take that resistance to precision 2 out of the 1d6 piercing precision damage that was rolled. And so imagine if the base weapon also did 1d6 instead of 1d4. You would have to have some way of knowing which of the 2 1d6s is the precision damage and which one is the base weapon damage, because again, you're taking the resistance to precision 2 out of that die. So that would be subtracted from the 1d6 precision before you add the total together. And if the target of this attack had resistance 5 to piercing, then you would roll both dice and total them together and remove the piercing from the total, because both of these are going to be considered piercing damage for that purpose. So that's going to do it for today, and again, there is no clear-cut black and white definition of what a pool or instance of damage is in the rulebook. What I am providing to you today comes from an analysis of all the examples in the book that are available to me, as well as conversations online with members of the community to make sure that there's a consensus in this. And the way I treat it, to make it real easy, is each type of damage is its own pool regardless of what effect creates it, as long as it's all part of that same strike, that same attack. As always, if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those below. If you have any suggestions for future rule reminders, please let me know in the comments as well. I'll leave links to any of my other videos that are related to this ongoing topic of damage calculations in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to everybody out there who supports me, whether that's by leaving a comment, sharing the videos with your friends, sharing your thoughts with me online in the official forums or on Reddit. Clicking the like button on the video, subscribing to the channel, subscribing to the Patreon, it all adds up, and I greatly appreciate everything you folks do to support me. So with that, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.